Hello and welcome back to the Dugout podcast. This is episode number 39. We've had a little bit of a hiatus. We're in university recording this actually, but we've had a lot of uni work to do, so that's how we've been off. We've missed a lot. We've missed the whole Barry Ferguson tenure so far. Some ups and downs in there, but we'll kind of cover it. So first of all, I think just we'll have a wee look at the league table. Ethan, if you could pull that up there.
Yeah, I've got it on my phone here.
And we'll just kind of look at where it's at. So obviously we've got Celtic at the top, Rangers, Hibs, Aberdeen, Dundee United, Hearts, Motherwell. Behind Motherwell is St Mirren, Ross County, Kilmarnock there, getting into that relegation zone.
We are.
Dundee and then St Johnstone still at the bottom. So not much has changed. Hearts sort of creeping in. St Mirren have dropped down into 8th. A lot of controversial stuff going on. I think the main story before we dive into the recent action, I think what we need to cover is Barry Ferguson. So in his first game, they triumphed 4-2 over Killie at Rugby Park.
Yep.
After Kilmarnock went 2-0 up, and they messed it up, I'll say, for this, for the purpose of this podcast. And then Barry went on to lose 2-1 to Motherwell at Ibrox. And then from then on in, it's been pretty decent for Barry Ferguson, but bit of a rocky start for him.
Yeah, definitely. I think that might have been the worst, what was it, 30 minutes at Rugby Park, maybe of Rangers season, how they played.
And that's saying something.
With Kilmarnock were brilliant. Could have been even more than 2 goals ahead. But as you said, Rangers showed character and resilience, which maybe they've lacked. Certainly domestically this season, and they were well worthy of the win in the end. And that sort of a performance that maybe you wouldn't have seen under Philip Clement. And then you get a Philip Clement-esque performance in the next game against Stephen Wimmer's Motherwell, who also took a.
Is he
a
Stephen? I thought he was Michael.
Michael. Yeah, Michael.
Confused with Stephen Whittaker or something.
I don't know what I've said, but yeah.
Stephen Rayside, big Motherwell fan.
Yes,
yeah.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, Michael Wimmer.
Yeah,
you know, I'm
Stephen Rayside actually put out quite a funny post.
Oh, yeah.
Mourinho, Rodgers, Michael Wimmer's the only one that can get a win.
I can't even get his name right.
He also put out, Stephen also put out that Michael Wimmer helped cure CP, so that's good to know. No, but honestly though, Barry Ferguson actually has a pretty decent start to his tenure at Rangers. And obviously, the game against Kilmarnock, I was there, right? And yeah, the first half hour Kilmarnock were outstanding, but I'm not even going to go there. I'm actually going to give Barry Ferguson a bit of credit because he was proactive in making a change and taking off Nziala, a player really struggling. And that's maybe indicative of what Ferguson wanted to do in his time in charge. He's not afraid to make decisions that are going to change the course of games. He's not afraid to do things that maybe Clement wouldn't have done. So got to give him a bit of credit.
Yeah, we saw that again with Motherwell, where he hooked 3 players at half time. Unfortunately for him and Rangers, it didn't make the difference in the end. Motherwell were excellent though; they played that game to perfection. But yeah, I've seen an attitude change, I think, in the Rangers players. They seem like they want it more. They seem like they're enjoying themselves. Maybe this backroom staff and the manager that's come in has made them understand what it means to be a Rangers player, because I think maybe it had been lost along the way, and there was a culture of excuses, I think, growing under Philippe Clement, and Barry Ferguson's changed that and brought some accountability back to Ibrox.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I've actually been quite impressed with Barry Ferguson and the way he speaks. Actually, it's not something I thought I would say. I actually thought, right,
exactly a lot.
Telly and radio pundit, I thought, is he just going to be like your kind of soundbites kind of guy? And maybe for us as student journalists, would he just be our kind of dream? But no, he seems to be saying it as it is and isn't afraid to isn't afraid to admit that he's got stuff wrong or that things haven't went to plan. Or in the case of more recently, he'll be delighted, with getting the Old Firm victory. I mean, that was what almost 16 years to the day of his last Old Firm appearance. I think there's only one day out.
Yeah, and he's the first Rangers manager to win their first game at Parkhead since Walter Smith in the 90s.
Wow.
Right, let's start that.
So I think that's a really impressive. And it's the first time that Rangers have, I think, scored 9 goals in back-to-back games, 3-3-3, since 2001 when Martin O'Neill was Celtic manager. So
That's even more impressive, I think.
Another thing about Ferguson, we're just touching on how we think he's sort of been impressive in the pressers, in the media, which I think we could agree that Falcon definitely wasn't. But I think that's what we said at the start when we heard of the news that maybe Ferguson, he's going to be someone who's going to sort of rile the players up and sort of bring the fans and give the fans something to believe in. But he's also shown that tactical edge, I think, on the pitch.
nobody expected.
That nobody expected, whether it's him or if it's Neil McCann maybe,
or Billy Dodds.
But between the group of them,
might be Chirai.
Might be Chirai,
The forgotten man.
Yeah, but between the 4 of them, or 5 if you include Alan McGregor as the goalkeeping coach, they made that tactical switch at Rugby Park to switch to it was the back 3 switch to, wasn't it, that game?
I don't think he did.
Was it not that game?
He moved Tavernier in centre half and
okay.
and put Rizvan on.
The first time we saw that the 3/5 was Fenerbahce.
Oh, was it? Okay. Well, that was my point. I was wondering when he switched to it, but I thought I seen it for the first time for a full 90 minutes the weekend, and the way that Rangers set up really impressed me, especially in the first half. The second half, naturally. They faded away slightly, but that was always going to happen after their exertions midweek. But yeah, I think the way they've set up, and that wasn't something they'd done under Falcon, so that's something that the new coaching staff have obviously taken.
Yeah, and he made slight tweaks as well between those. He still went with a 5, but I think the 5s were different between the formation was different between Fenerbahce game and the Celtic game, which was interesting. It was in essence the same formation but with little tweaks. But before we dive into, because we could talk forever about this, I think before it gets lost, we'll talk about the Scottish Cup semi-finalists: St Johnstone, Celtic. Aberdeen and Hearts. Yeah. Aberdeen and Hearts. So two semi-finals to look forward to coming up. St Johnstone with a mammoth task on their hands, taking on Celtic, who look to be on course for a domestic treble, and that'll be the 9th in the club's history.
I think so, yes.
And they've got so many of them in this last decade and a half or so. I can't see anyone other than Celtic going to the final there, but Aberdeen Hearts could be a cracker.
Yeah, it really could be. I mean, I was talking earlier this week to a couple of Aberdeen fans who are not confident at all about that semi-final. They were also raging about the ticket prices at Hampden. But yeah, that is probably fair enough. That is probably the toughest tie. So 40 quid. I mean,
that's about standard today, isn't it?
It is, mind you. I mean, the Scotland games are about the same. So yeah,
it's steep, but it's like
that's what
it's about. So for Rangers games, I think it's 30 for a league game, 45 for a Europa League game, perhaps. And when it was Champions League, I think it was 50.
I mean, bear in mind, I know it's not comparable, but if you look at the small clubs, even come on, our fans started complaining at 30 for the ticket. So
yeah, but yeah, I think I was just going to say, I think those two semi-finals, I think Celtic obviously massive favourites against St Johnstone, despite St Johnstone sort of making a fight back that maybe no one expected. I know they're 5 points adrift now, but I mean, I think you can't deny that they've sort of made progress since the start of Alakari's tenure.
Too little, too
Yeah,
late.
too little, too late, possibly. And in the other tie, Aberdeen and Hearts, it really could go either way. I think Hearts are the form team. I know Neil Critchley's been accused of not getting the job done in the big games. Obviously lost in the derby recently. But Aberdeen have kind of not really kicked on. They had those sort of wins to get that terrible run off their back. They obviously beat Queen's Park to get there, but they're still not convinced me that they're going to go on to get third place. I'd fancy Hibs for that still. But I think that one could go really easily either way. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who makes the final. No real shocks, I would say, in the quarterfinals, was there?
No, I don't think so.
No, nothing
No.
major. No.
I was just going to say, it was refreshing to get another big allocation back in at Celtic Park with the 7,000 on Hibs fans, and then obviously you got the Rangers fans back in the ground at the weekend, and hopefully that allocation will grow across the derby, because it's our marquee fixture in this country.
Yeah, definitely. Just on the quarterfinals, there are no major shocks, but one of the best goals I think I've ever seen from like from either a St Johnstone player or just even in Scottish football.
Yeah,
I mean,
Ridiculous goal from Graham Carey.
the thing is, Graham Carey, by the way, has that in his locker.
Yeah, definitely.
If someone casts a mind back, maybe if it's the Birmingham fan actually in particular, if you were to cast your mind back to 2013, I think it is, he scores a very similar goal in the black and white Fred was Mirren. I mean, shout out to Ryan Niven if you're listening. Maybe if your wee memory there. Yeah, Graham Carey is a good player. He's one of the few players at St Johnstone where you think he's actually a technically really good player. He's maybe not as, he's maybe on the older side, but he's still a good footballer.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of like players like that. They maybe don't have the legs anymore, but you can still see the quality. I think that's part of.
They're quite satisfied to watch. It's almost therapeutic to watch those sort of guys.
Yeah, definitely. I think Pedro's one for Lazio as well. You can just still see his quality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll talk a bit more about the teams that are left in the Europa League. Well, pretty soon actually.
Yeah.
But that's kind of for the Scottish Cup. Do you want to do a mini prediction of who do you think will be in the final?
I'm going with Celtic and Hearts.
Celtic and Hearts.
Yeah, I'll go Celtic and Aberdeen just to be different.
St Johnstone and Aberdeen. I'm just kidding. I think it'll be Celtic and Hearts. But yeah, right. So that's kind of that for the Scottish Cup. Quick recap because of what we've missed. Now back to Rangers again. I think Rangers travelled to Istanbul for the first leg of the Europa League round of 16, taking on Fenerbahce, and Barry Ferguson shocked everyone. Rangers coming away with a 3-1 win, and it could have been more.
Yeah, fine margins in it. I think I don't know if I've spoken about it on the podcast before, but sometimes in these European games it is the finest of margins. And Rangers could have been out of sight if any of those two Dessers goals had stood. He was really unlucky, and Dessers was brilliant all night.
The first one,
has he got his deserved plaudits, especially from the Turkish media were raving about him. Czerny was brilliant as well, took his two goals really well, and Rangers deserved a win.
Czerny, he's a great footballer, but that might not be the talking point we'll be discussing about him.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, I suppose at times this season Rangers haven't exactly been watertight, but I suppose they managed to keep it tight enough in Turkey. But then it maybe got a little bit more difficult at Ibrox. Alex, would you say in the second leg?
Definitely. The second leg, thought Rangers were good in the first half. They conceded a goal just before half time. I think it was a poor goal to lose. Really nice finish, mind you, in the end from Zemanski, who got 2 on the day. Rangers conceded in the second half, and then from then on in, it's just kind of holding on. Fenerbahce didn't really have their shooting boots on though. I think they only had 3 shots in target in this tie.
They claimed for more penalties than they did shots in target.
Yeah. all over Twitter and Instagram, UEFA Mafia and all that. None of them were penalties in my opinion.
I think they would have been soft and harsh on Rangers.
But yeah, and then Rangers sort of holding on, some brilliant defensive John Souttar just throws himself at everything. We've seen it in the first leg as well. In particular, that block just before half time from Mulder's shot, the absolutely thumping volley, and Souttar headers it, gets knocked back as well, headers it over the bar, and he was putting himself absolutely everywhere. And yeah, Rangers went with a 5 again, and it worked to an extent in terms of holding on. And then they won on penalties, which I don't think I've ever seen Rangers win on penalties except from maybe the Cup semi-final, and then they went on to lose in the final to Hibs. But I think it was 2015, 2016.
David Gray, etc.
Yeah, back in 2016. That was the only other time, but in recent times it hasn't been good for Rangers. League Cup final, League Cup against St Johnstone, Europa League final. It's not been fun watching for any Rangers fans on penalties, but they managed to get it over the line with some good penalties, some good saves, and some bad penalties for Fenerbahce. So Butland saved the first one from Dusan Tadic, and then he saved, I think it was Fenerbahce's fourth penalty from Fred, a really good save. Hadji had his penalty saved by the Fenerbahce goalkeeper. And then Hakan Yandas with one of the worst penalties I think I've ever seen give Rangers a win. What was he even trying to do?
I don't know.
No idea.
And to be honest, watching it, you probably didn't know this at the ground, but watching it on telly, as soon as I seen Tadic walking up and the sort of noise and pressure that Brooks crowd put him under, I just knew Rangers were going to win. I don't think any of the Fenerbahce players looked confident. I know Djiku, is that his name?
Djiku, yeah. Alexander Djiku,
yeah.
Maybe Djiku.
Yeah, that was a very cool penalty. But yeah, Rangers looked a lot more confident than they were. And apart from Hadji, they took some really good penalties, and Butland obviously makes a few massive saves to send them through. And there's no doubt the next game will be a step up, but that's what you expect in this competition.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, like, as for that at the team, I mean, it's Leon, isn't it?
Bilbao.
Bilbao, sorry, I don't know where I'm from, but Bilbao is a massive step up. And I mean, like, the thing about Bilbao is they're a team who, they're one of the bigger sides to be in if you take out, obviously, Barca, Real, Atletico, whatever, at the minute. But then when you think of the recruitment process that they have, or almost lack of, because they're very restricted, it's only players that are, from and family and like the Basque region of Spain, and how they can,
and France
as well. But how they can create such a team from that. I mean, of course, the French example being a guy who now plays for Spain, I suppose, and Aymeric Laporte back in the day. But how they can create a team from that is seriously impressive.
And their team's pretty damn good as well.
Yeah.
They've got some scary. You've got Inaki Williams, obviously now a Ghanaian international. You've got his little brother Nico Williams, Euros winner, one of the best players for Spain in that tournament.
Scored in the final
against
England.
Yep. Hero to Scotland fans everywhere.
Yeah.
But and then you've got Sunset as well, pulling the strings from the middle of the park. So they're no mugs, and they're way better than mugs. They're way above that. They're a really good side. And Rangers, the home leg is first 10th of April at Ibrox. And if Rangers want any chance of going through, I think they need to win at home.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But in the same sentence, I said the same thing about Celtic against Bayern Munich. Celtic lost the first game, took Bayern Munich right to the end, and Rangers played better against Fenerbahce at the away game than they did at home. So sometimes it doesn't always work like that, but
Rangers have now lost 4 home games on the bounce.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Even under Clemontes were decent enough at home.
Yeah,
but I would agree with you. I think Rangers need to take something to Bilbao, a win preferably, because I think it will be a difficult game. But Rangers can go into it with nothing to lose, like they have done in the last round against Fenerbahce, and maybe that's where Rangers perform best. Because they did have something to lose in the home leg, a 2-goal lead, and they did lose it. So you never know. So Rangers will have a chance.
I think Rangers will definitely have chances in the game as well, because it sounds weird saying this, but I think our attacking, if we go with a five again, our attacking two is just too good not to have opportunities.
Yeah, I think.
Especially Czerny, he can create something out of nothing. He did I didn't realise this at the time. I just thought it was a great piece of skill. But during the Europa League posted like a slow-mo replay. During the Fenerbahce game at Ibrox, he did a La Croqueta past two players.
I need to see that.
Yeah, and he's and I'm like, how? I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was filling out like that level of skill. Because anyone can do it, but to do it while going forward, going past people, it really is something else.
And bear in mind the pressure as well. When you say anyone can do it, anyone can maybe do it on the training pitch, but doing it on that stage, I mean, fair play. And when it comes to Václav Černý, he's been one of the few shining lights for Rangers this season. I mean, Alex, mostly for you, right? What do you think the chances are that
I don't know.
he'll actually be at Ibrox next season?
I don't know if the takeover is going to come in and give us a bit of money. I know they're obviously not going to. We're not going to be spending loads, but I think the fee is around 7 million, which would be, I think, our third highest in history.
Is that not like kind of Ryan Kent
I think
levels?
it might have been 7.5, and then it jumps up to Torre Andre Flo at 12, which is,
12 million you didn't have, but
okay.
No, but I think on Czerny, I think you've got to give him his plaudits. I think, in my opinion, I'd say he's been Rangers' best player this season on the most consistent basis. I know Egerman so obviously scored a brilliant goal at the weekend, but he went in that sort of barren run without a goal.
11 games.
Yeah, so I'd just say Czerny. I think if Rangers signed him, it would be a great signing, even though he's not got the most resale value at 27 now he is. But I think you're buying quality.
When he's 30, 31, Ren might come and pay 10 million for him.
Yeah.
So
and then you sell it to Saudi and then buy him back.
Yeah, maybe. He does seem like a very Saudi signing, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Go to like where Sakala and Chris Smalling are or something like that. But yeah, Czerny has been really, really good this season, and I don't know, honestly, Laurie, I don't know what the chances are of us getting him. I'd love him, but it goes back to never fall in love with a lone player. I feel like we've had on the last 3 consecutive seasons.
Don't worry, Alex. I know that all too well. I mean, as a supporter of one of the Diddy clubs, you get used to this with lone players, and every year, or almost every year, there is one that you fall in love with. You're like, I really know we can't keep you, and if we do, we're incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you fall as fans, you fall in love with a lone player, but what makes it harder is when the lone player falls in love with the club as well.
Yeah.
And you know they have. But
I think two out of the last 3 that I actually have for Rangers. Malik Tillman not so much, but I think Abdallah Sima and Václav Černý have bought into it.
Yeah.
And then obviously Sima is in Brest, Micah Richards' favourite club. And Černý, he'll go back to Wolfsburg, and either we'll cough up the money for him, depending on what our financial situation is, or Wolfsburg. He might want to make a go of it in the Bundesliga, or Wolfsburg will sell him on for more than Rangers can pay.
Yeah, the worst thing about it, I think, for Rangers fans is that the last 3, the 2 you mentioned there, Černý, is that they're agonisingly close to the sort of price that you can maybe pay for them. It's not as if you're getting somebody in that at the start we're definitely not going to be able to sign him. You think you build yourself up.
They've maybe added a couple of million on their price tag with how good they've been.
Yeah, I think you might have said this the other day, but I think out of their time spent here, I think Sima and Tillman have maybe went on to be better players. I think Černý maybe had the best loan spell at the 3 of them.
He has. I think he's been the best out of them all. And he's actually close to equaling his best season for goal involvements in his career at Rangers. I think his best one, he had 28 goal involvements for FC 20. But I think this season he's got 17 goals in all competitions, and I can't remember how many assists off the top of my head. But yeah, he's been excellent, and he's kind of strange because he's not the fast. He's fast, but he's not fast. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's not you would say pacey, but his technical ability, his shooting, you don't know what he's going to do. He's dangerous, and I think you saw it in that second leg. And anytime he had the ball, Fenerbahce had 3 players around him, trying to shut him down.
The thing is, I think, just to make a last point on Jeremy, I think at the start of his sort of time, we thought maybe a wee bit similar to Nicholas Kuhn, in a sense. We thought he was a little bit of a one-trick pony coming in on his left foot, but he's obviously proven that he's not that, and he's been very difficult, especially domestically and in Europe as well, obviously, to defend against, because he can obviously go both ways.
Yeah. So I think we'll just talk about the Europa League a bit more. Rangers playing Bilbao, we've kind of talked about that. So the rest of the games, on Rangers' side, if they progress, they will play Lyon or Manchester United.
Yeah, and I jumped the gun earlier, but yeah.
I admire your optimism, Laurie. Yeah, Rangers, if they progress, they'll play Lyon or Manchester United. 2 sides who've already beat them this season. Weirdly enough, though, I still think Rangers could beat either of them. The Lyon game was so strange because Rangers were actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Lyon done them with some cracking finishing. Fofana had Tavernier on strings, but maybe with this new formation. And we've seen, Sterling playing right back and Tavernier playing right back. They've kind of been switched at the weekend there. I think that worked quite well. So you said that was probably one of the best games you've seen Tavernier have against Celtic.
Yeah, I would say so.
And
I think he just sort of led the team well. He's obviously the captain, so a lot always falls down on him if Rangers lose. I thought him and Sterling worked brilliantly. They kept taking goals at being at the right wing back, because the right wing back's obviously, apart from the strikers, the sort of most advanced.
they were probably both gumped as well.
Yeah, both. You could see that for the body language for a lot of Rangers players. We'll get on to when we talk about that, the game in isolation. But they swapped between each other really well and dealt with Dyson Maeda for the most part, which has obviously been pretty difficult for everyone this season.
Yeah, definitely. So, and then on the other side, we have Tottenham versus Frankfurt, and then Lazio versus Bodo Glimt. So, if Rangers do make it to the final, we could see a rematch of 2022.
I think that's definitely not off the cards.
I don't think Rangers. I don't think I could go through as losing again.
No, I was going to say, would you wouldn't take that? No,
I'd hate Frankfurt forever. I think if that happened,
That's almost as bad. It'd be almost as bad as.
I mean, if you need any advice, if you need any advice on how to beat Eintracht Frankfurt in Europe, Kelly did it in the 60s. Beat 5-1.
Okay, before anyone in the Rangers team or backroom staff was born or something like that. Well, maybe not Billy Dodds.
Billy Dodds, to be fair.
But yeah,
I'm not doing Billy Dodds this every story.
So if Rangers, I think, are on the harder side.
Yeah,
and I think Bodo Glimt won't. Me and Ethan were talking actually. Imagine it was a Rangers Bodo Glimt final, one of the lot. That would be like the worst Europa League final ever.
That screams like Conference League quarter final, Europa League final.
Come on, do you think you're doing us a disservice there? We've got a bit of
Bodo Glimt. I quite like to see Bodo Glimt doing well. We obviously put Celtic out the Conference League, and Celtic's only attempt in the competition.
But yeah, they've been a team obviously building
That's
themselves up.
mad you guys went
Uh,
out in like the first round of
Yeah,
that.
I know.
And we've seen the way it's gone.
Yeah, I
the
know.
teams that are in it.
But yeah, I think that they're a side that's developing. They've still not qualified for the Champions League, but I think they will do pretty soon. And yeah, I mean, they could pull off an upset against Lazio, but I can't see it happening. I fancy
Pilsen was quite close against
Yeah.
them though, so you never
I
know.
fancy Frankfurt to beat Spurs as well, and I fancy Lyon to beat Man United as well.
I fancy Lyon to beat Man United. Unfortunately for me and Laurie,
Yeah, unfortunately.
yeah, our kind of English side is Man United, but Lyon are good. So if I'm being realistic, I think it'll be a Lyon Bilbao semi final, and the other side, Lazio versus Frankfurt. So all the British sides going out in the quarters. But
Certain media outlets wouldn't like that.
if I'm going with my heart, I'm going Rangers Bilbao. No, Rangers Bilbao, Rangers Leon in the
Rangers,
semis.
if you're going with your heart, you're going Rangers in Bilbao for the final.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Rangers
That's
and
where my head
Bilbao,
was.
yeah.
Rangers in Bilbao for the final, to take on. Oh, there's going to be Frankfurt in it.
Possibly.
Unless,
I don't know. I thought the hypotheticals here.
unless you're really backing Spurs to get to a final, I mean they can at least smell it.
I think Spurs will go out to Frankfurt. They're just bottle jobs.
Aye.
As Antonio Conte said, this is Tottenham. This is the Spurs DNA.
And I'm sure Jose Mourinho said similar as well.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's kind of it for the European top. I think while we've just kind of been drifting in and out, we'll go straight to the main attraction of the weekend. Celtic 2, Rangers 3 at Parkhead. Yeah, was not expecting that.
No, definitely not. I think Celtic, despite the last two performances in these games, obviously they did get the win in the cup final by the skin of their teeth. Whether they deserved it or not is debatable. They obviously were second best all over at Ibrox in the turn of the year. And I think this performance was certainly better than that one, but that wouldn't have been difficult. But I think I thought Rangers were, in the first half, were even better than they played at Ibrox in that game, because Celtic weren't completely incapable. But Celtic were pretty poor. You expect them to sort of turn over a Rangers team that played 120 minutes, 3 days before.
It kind of it's making me draw a lot of comparisons with Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, because he played a 5 in Europe.
Yeah.
And if you go back to that season, Rangers went 120 minutes with Braga and then went 120 minutes and beat Celtic. James Forrest, who was just on the park, was huffing and puffing, and Calvin Bassey had played 240 minutes by that point, was sprinting past them.
Yeah, the game had a lot of drew a lot of comparisons to a lot of games. I think, in a sense, it was very similar to last season's 3-3 at Ibrox as well. Apart from Celtic obviously didn't get the late equalising goal. It was the away side that went 2-0 up. It drew back to 2-2. Looked like the side who drew back to 2-2 would go on to win it. The other team nicked a goal. But Celtic didn't have the Rabi Matondo moment this time. But I think Rangers were deserving of the win. I think it could have been a draw, but the fact that Celtic couldn't break Rangers down really at all in the game, especially when Rangers tired in the second half.
You said you could see they were visibly tired.
Yeah, at the game I could see there was sort of the body language showed that Rangers were sort of, right, we're really putting in a shift here.
You thought when the second goal went in, you thought they were in trouble.
Yeah, I think so. But Celtic never even kicked on after the first goal. There was a bit of a blip after that. And then the second goal again, a bit of a blip. And then the goal, a moment of magic from Igamani. A brilliant goal to end his trip, but terrible from Cameron Carter-Vickers and Alistair Johnston, who arguably had the worst game for Celtic. I thought they were both terrible.
We'll just go through the goals.
That's quite unbelievable to hear, probably about, both Carter-Vickers and Johnson. I mean, two guys who a lot of the time, maybe looking in, seem to be, players who can almost do no wrong for Celtic.
Yeah. They've been reliable, but I didn't get to see the whole game because I was at work. But I've seen the extended highlights. I've heard stuff from Celtic pages talking about their perspective of how their players played. I've seen Rangers pages, I've heard Ethan. I've kind of tried to take in as much information as I can about the game to get a real perspective on it. But yeah, so Rangers opened the scoring within 4 minutes. And if I'm correct in saying, Rangers kicked off, Suter played the long ball. There was a few opportunities.
Free kicks straight away.
Free kick straight away.
Free kick straight away, yeah.
Needless foul. I mean,
And then Raskin has the shot saved, goes out, corner, Raskin runs off his schlup. Really, really good header. But the ball, I don't think had been in Rangers' half from since Suter lobbed it forward. Am I correct in saying that?
No, that was definitely. I think that was the case. Yeah, I think Rangers took the kick off. Now we've seen this a lot. I think I remember Neil Lennon doing it at Ibrox, where they off kick off, they kick the ball right in. Neil Lennon done it before at Ibrox, where Celtic kicked the ball right up into the corner and actually conceded a throw in just so they could sort of get up the pitch and sort of press the game from the start. Rangers obviously got a foul right off the start, which is ideal. And then from there on in, they got was it the first corner they scored from or the second? But
my gut's saying second.
Yeah.
Like Alex, I only watched some of the game.
yeah, but it was all Rangers in the opening minutes. A good ball from Tavernier, as you expect, and a brilliant header from Raskin. 2 goals for him this season.
One of the weakest
both-
guys in the park,
both headers.
joint with Redban.
Yeah, I think
And that's 2 games in a row. He's won. He's won off a corner. It's led to a goal.
we said we seen that he said he's 5'10", but I think he might even be smaller than that. But it's a
5'8", 5'7".
brilliant header in the ball.
Yeah.
A perfect start for Rangers, and just shell shocked Celtic Park right off the start and sent the Rangers fans off to a great start.
Rangers could have had a second quicker than they did. Kasper Schmeichel giving the ball away straight to Václav Černý, who for some reason just doesn't have a pop. Maybe it's a bit of mental tiredness, do you think, Laurie?
I think it had to be there because it looked very much like, it looked easier to score, as cliche as it is. I mean, goodness me, I don't know if I've seen it, and it's back to what you said about Carter, Vickers and Johnson, Ethan. I don't know if I've seen a Celtic team as fragile in recent years as that.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think when you're missing Cal McGregor, when you're missing, well, not missing, but Cameron Carter-Vickers, who I think we've kind of gave his praise on this podcast before. He's usually the most reliable central defender and has been for quite a while in this country. Johnson's had a great season as well. They were both well off it on Sunday, and Kasper Schmeichel as well had one of his poorer games, and I think if that had led to a goal, that would have been his first sort of major error at Celtic. I can't remember him making any other sort of ones where playing out from the back and he's gave the ball away.
Aston Villa.
Oh yeah, Aston Villa. You're right. Aston Villa, and they get bailed out. They get bailed out here because it was sort of uncharacteristic from him. And Černý should have shot. And then the unlikely sort of best performer in that defence, Mike Nawrocki, sort of cleared it out for I think it went out for a corner, and he was the sort of only positive on that Celtic back line and goalkeeper, which was very surprising because he was obviously an emergency replacement for Liam Scales and Austin Trusty, who were obviously out.
Rangers get their second goal. Raskin, sort of his run, kind of forced Tavernier to play it when he did. And then, I might be overstating this a bit, but I think this is like a fantastic assist, bordering on world class, I think. And just because it's not like a 40-yard like swerving pass that went through three or four people, a lot of people won't talk about it, but see the awareness.
Yeah, the awareness, vision of the game,
and
reading the game.
The cushion to get it to Diamandi. Because a lot of players would maybe try to bring it down and go themselves, but Raskin just flicks it over to Diamandi, who takes it down nicely and finishes it beautifully. And I think you mentioned, Ethan, you might mention that Diamandi's been playing more advanced and we're seeing a better player.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't quite go world class, but I can understand what you're saying. It was a really good pass from Raskin, and I thought it was a really good goal.
I said
in general.
bordering on world class.
Okay, that's fair enough. It was a really good goal in general. Good pick out from Tavernier. Good movement from Raskin. Brilliant run, brilliant header. And then Diamandi's in the right place, and it's a good finish. And Celtic just kind of stood and watched, really. But it was really good play from Rangers. And they probably deserved to go in at the break 2-0 up. Because Celtic never really played a glove on them in the first half.
Yeah, definitely. But in the second half, Rodgers obviously gave them probably a bit of a hairdryer treatment, maybe. I can't see him shouting much, but he probably would have. And they came out the blocks.
One of the things I was going about with Celtic, we've seen inside Celtic Random was world class basic. I think it's maybe like some sort of motivational line. It sounds like Jake Humphrey's high performance stuff, but that's what Celtic needs to start doing. They're going over stuff like that probably.
Yeah,
character and intensity probably.
And for the whole game, really, but especially in the first half, Celtic couldn't even break Rangers' press at all. They were just so slow in the build-up play, made it so easy for Rangers to sort of keep their shape and stop Celtic playing. Celtic had over 70% possession, but didn't really do much with it at all. Whether that's Callum McGregor not being involved, but
he's been going backwards, I think. And Engels struggled with that.
Yeah.
Because McGregor, Engels was trying a lot of. You said he loves a wee diag.
Yeah.
McGregor doesn't do that. He comes in, he takes the ball, he carries it, maybe gives it to Hatate, moves forward, gets it back, and then he's playing it into the front lines because he moves with the ball. He takes it out. He's commanded that midfield. And I don't know if he would have made a massive difference. I think that's what they struggled with as well. But also his organisational skills, his leadership. Because it looked to me, from what I've seen, Celtic were lacking a leader on that part. I think Carter Vickers has shown he can be that guy. Yeah. It looked like he really went into his shell, which is something we haven't seen from him before at all.
I think, just on the Callum McGregor point, I think it would be ridiculous and unfair to say that Celtic would have done better if he was playing, because I think you look at the last two games, he's been completely nullified by Rangers. And that blueprint's already in place. Whether Barry Ferguson chose to use it or not, whether it is hypothetical, but maybe with Arnie Engels playing, you get something a bit different in the fact that there's not a McGregor on the pitch. But Arnie Engels was really sort of, the game passed him by. He didn't really get a control of the game. He had moments where he done positive things, but most of the game he was doing things that weren't sort of helping Celtic, and they were just so slow, and as you said, so many backwards passes. I don't think I've ever seen Celtic play so negatively, and that's where you've got to give credit to Rangers, because although Celtic probably didn't play at their best, especially in the first half, that's down to Rangers going and pressing them with the sort of five at the back, with Tavernier and Yilmaz pushing up to the inverted fullbacks, and Johnston and Schlupp never get a moment to turn.
I think I mentioned it. I was watching the highlights, and there was a pass that came out from, I think it might have been Schmeichel or one of the defenders to Alistair Johnson. And it's kind of trundling along him, and he's just taking his time. And then you see Yilmaz coming from just coming into frame, sprinting, and he kind of harasses him and wins it back. And was that much?
Was that the one that kind of Schmeichel played it, and it kind of went in between Carter Vickers and Johnston? Yeah. I think that one just kind of summed it all up. I think that was a pass for Carter Vickers, but he lets it run, and Johnston's like, well, that's your ball, and it's just kind of the miscommunication that was just
and then all you start seeing is players start flailing their arms about and blaming each other.
That happened a lot. And the midfielders as well, I seen McCowan and Engels arguing a few times, and just nothing went right for Celtic really, but they got the two goals.
They did.
Got back in.
Dyson Maida, a nice cross from Jota, but there's no way Maida should be jumping Sterling and Tavernier, but it was a nice header, really nice header for an equaliser. And the crowd is starting to get back into it. You maybe think they should go on. You said they did blip a little bit, but they do get that equaliser. I think maybe it was nice, but it wasn't like it was a pretty standard move. I think maybe that's where you've seen the fatigue from Rangers. They get in there, and it's a nice finish in the end for Mayo Hatate. No chance for Jack Butland, who did make a cracking save from Hatate in the first half. And then, Celtic had a couple of chances just before that. Luke McCowan dragged it wide. Schlupp had an effort nicely saved by Jack Butland as well. And then Jack Butland gets his first career assist. Just hoof straight ball down the park, bouncing ball, goes over Carter Vickers, who seems to duck, weirdly enough. Johnston slips. He gets back, puts in a half, I was about to say something there. Half-hearted tackle, and then your man kind of shimmies through and blasts it into the top corner, 3-2 Rangers, and that was that. Obviously, Celtic had a chance towards the end with Alistair Johnson, but he took that so poorly. He tried to finish it with it outside of his right foot from that angle.
Summed his performance up, I'd say. But I think him and Carter Vickers they weren't good enough on the day, and they combined for the Rangers goal, taking nothing away from Igamani. But I mean, it's inexplicable defending, really. But Rangers, I think, deserved to win. If Celtic can't break Rangers down with the sort of fatigue that I can visibly see at the game, then they don't deserve to win the match, and Rangers deserve to win. And it's a good day and a Celtic day and a poor season domestically.
I think with Rangers fans have had a tough season. They will enjoy this, but they'll also look back and go, we've went toe to toe with them in the last 3 games. We beat them to the last 3 games. Should have beat them in the other one. We're probably the better team in that game. And they're still taking. Well, we'll say would have taken 3 points off them. Celtic won the first one.
Yeah.
And they might win 3 out of the 4 games this season, and they'll be like 10 points behind if Celtic win every other game. And it's just it's just, I think it's this, not being able to do it against your Dundees, your Kilmarnocks, against the likes of Motherwell.
Coventry night and Dundee.
Yeah, Coventry night. Well, funnily enough, our next game is away to Dundee on a Saturday night, I think.
So the weather's getting a bit better. Weather's getting a bit better, so hopefully we'll get sun rather than...
Yeah, but Laurie, I think it will be a moment of celebration for the Rangers fans, but it will also be looking back on what could have been, I think.
Absolutely, and you summed it up perfectly there, Alex, about it is the game against the lesser teams, be it my beloved Kelly, be it Motherwell or whoever, right? It's those games that the problem. It's not what you do in Europe against Fenerbahce, against Spurs, against Man United, or potentially Bilbao or whatever. It's what may have been. It's not. I mean, they're not a bad looking Rangers side at times. At times they look horrendous, but at times you think this team's got potential. It's the start of a journey, but
players,
at times, it's so inconsistent, it's unbelievable. Although I'm sick of teams being consistently inconsistent. I watch Kilmarnock every week.
Yeah. I think the question for the next Rangers manager, or possibly the Rangers manager that's the manager now, is can you stimulate that team to put in those sort of level of performance week in, week out against your lower league opposition that you're expected to win. And I think if Barry Ferguson sort of wins, can win all the games or win almost all of the games in the rest of the season, they would be favourites to beat Celtic at Ibrox. Then I think he'd definitely put some in contention if he hasn't already. But I think you wouldn't say he's sort of a favourite for the job now, because he has shown the same sort of results wise, not performance wise, the same sort of symptoms as Clement. He's obviously had a big win in Europe. Clement done well in Europe. Clement did beat Celtic in his last game, and Clement had inexplicable losses.
I think the Motherwell result is something you can't really put on Barry Ferguson, though. I think that's residual Clement. That was his second game in charge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And now I would say Ferguson's got a chance.
Yeah.
But if he goes on to win the rest of the games, or maybe he draws one, and they beat Celtic, and they put up a good fight across the 2 games and against Bilbao, then he's definitely got a chance.
Yeah, definitely.
It feels a wee bit, just the last thing I'll say on the whole Barry Ferguson Rangers thing. You've seen some people like Simon Jordan, according to Barry Ferguson on Talk Sports there, about don't get sucked in by hype. But that's because it feels a bit like, I suppose, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Man United in a way, but maybe a wee bit less extreme. So if Barry Ferguson does win the rest of his games or miraculously wins the Europa League, he will probably give him the job.
Turns out Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't actually that bad though.
No, he wasn't at all. I think people thought he was worse than he.
Didn't he finish like second with Man United as well?
Yeah, he did.
He did.
That's crazy.
And I think he actually got them closer than Mourinho, but he's seen as some fool.
Because he's wasn't an elite manager, that goes against him.
Yeah.
Because I think, and I genuinely think at Rangers, the problem's never been the tactics. It's been the mentality, as you just said. Mentality to win every game and take nothing else but a win. And I think if a manager can do that with this group of players, obviously adding in a few areas, then they'll definitely run Celtic close next season, because it's not the derby matches that are the downfall at the moment.
No. Right, I think we've spent enough time on this, on Rangers, on the Old Firm, on Barry Ferguson. We do have other games to speak about this weekend. Let's kick it off at Rugby Park with Kilmarnock 1, Hibs 1. Kilmarnock, struggling, sort of dropping further and further towards that relegation playoff spot. Obviously, Dundee got a very big win at the weekend that puts a bit of pressure on you. And although you didn't lose, Laurie, you said it was awful.
Yes, awful. I mean, a 1-1 draw against Hibs in the grand scheme of things, especially with the form Hibs are in, is not a bad result. Of course, it's not. I mean, it was daylight robbery in the end. We got an equaliser from Fraser Murray, former Hibs player, of course, in the 92nd minute, cancelling out a first half straight from Martin Boyle. I mean, Hibs weren't exactly any great shakes, but we were just incredibly poor. Didn't really get going. I mean, it's one of these ones where, and it's been a bad habit for Kelly all season, where it looks like certain players have been playing out of position, and like sometimes the players don't really know where to be, and it's just frustrating to watch, painful stuff, as we are really putting ourselves in amongst that relegation battle. I mean, I've been on here many times, including my two co-hosts here as well, and we've been talking about how Kelly will actually do all right, because there's certain weeks where you watch Kelly and we're fine, and then there's some weeks where even if we have managed to scrape a draw against Hibs, you just know that it's been very, very lucky.
Yeah, I think Ethan said something that I think kind of rings true, unfortunately. Right now, I think Kilmarnock are probably the most boring team to watch in the league. Just because there's nothing really there. Like, the performances are so dry and drab, and I'm not trying to come after you here, but they just, it's like, I don't know, what's a good way to put it? What's a good comparison?
No, but
like Sheffield United or something.
Yeah, I totally get it. Like we're trying to be steady, but almost too steady.
Or like Sean Dyche's Burnley.
Yes.
Yeah, is that?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, bear in mind, Derek McInnes did come up against Sean Dyche's Burnley as Aberdeen boss.
They barred them, didn't they?
No, it was quite a good game, was it that?
I think.
Lewis Ferguson scored.
Lewis Ferguson scored an absolute cracker.
Was it overhead kick, wasn't it?
I think it was. But away from that, though, yeah, you're right. I mean, put it this way.
Burnley battered someone else. I remember because I was following their run because I couldn't believe they made it into Europe.
Yeah. I mean, let's say St Johnstone aren't great, but they at least play decent football. The games are entertaining.
Yeah.
Our games are dreadful to watch. Even games that we win. I remember a few weeks ago, and this game was on the TV as well, so bless everyone. Kelly against Dundee United. Kelly won at 1-0. But an awful game for them to have at the 5:45 Saturday night game. I mean, I was almost sleeping at
that goal that should have been disallowed.
Yeah, that game.
No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
But yeah, there is that game, yeah.
But yeah, well, I think Laurie kind of summed it up quite well.
I've just a few things to say. Think.
Are they favourable?
For Kilmarnock, not so much. I think Kelly, I think they'll be okay. I think they will be okay. But it's worrying because they've just not got a consistent sort of basis of picking up points.
Like we've seen though, Dundee can show up and win
Yeah,
4-0.
that's what Dundee. They're the most sort of. I know you say Kelly are inconsistent, but Dundee can either be like the best team in the league or the worst team in the league. There's really sort of no in between on that Tony Docherty. But yeah,
Well,
for Hibs,
I guess Kelly are just consistently boring.
yeah. For Hibs, as I said earlier, I still back Hibs for third. I think I know they lost at Celtic Park to end their sort of unbeaten in all comps sort of run, but they're still unbeaten in 14 in the league. They should have won this match against Kelly, but they've still obviously got sort of a lot in the bag and a lot of momentum to carry through into the split. And they've got a few brilliant fixtures recently. The win over Celtic, the win at Tannadice, the win in the Derby. So yeah, I back David Gray to see Hibs out to third, but they'll see it's 2 points drop.
Is he a contender for manager of the season? What a turnaround!
I'd say
I
yes.
think he is. I mean,
I think Brendan Rodgers.
Brendan Rodgers is going to win
Win
it
it,
probably because if you win a treble, then there isn't really much more you can do in a domestic on a domestic stage. Well, there obviously is. You could do an invincible treble, but yeah, I think it would be Brendan Rodgers. But he's definitely a candidate. And I think there'll be clubs, especially down south, and I think there might already be clubs down south looking at him because. And from what all the players have said, and from what we've seen, he looks like a really sort of top coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. My brain just went there. On to the next game. St Johnstone versus Aberdeen, or Aberdeen versus St Johnstone. Did I get it right the first time?
St Johnstone v Aberdeen.
You were right first time.
Okay, sorry, I keep sitting guessing myself. Thrilling game that was.
Should I mention this game?
No. Why not?
Well, there wasn't really much.
Just because it was so bad.
Yeah, not neat.
Yeah, no.
No.
St Johnstone are still bottom. Aberdeen are still fifth, fourth, fifth.
They're still floating somewhere.
Yeah, I backed. I said I think to someone the other day that I backed St Johnstone to leapfrog Dundee, but I think. But even though they got a point against Aberdeen, which isn't the worst result, I think Dundee's win in the Derby maybe just slightly puts them just too far adrift. Maybe I like St Johnstone. I like what Valakari's trying to do, but I just don't think they're going to.
Sorry, I've just realised I've been subconsciously pulling faces in the camera there.
I've been looking over there. I've been not looking at the camera at all, so I'm doing better than I am. But yeah, I think it's sort of. I just don't think St Johnstone will have enough. And for Aberdeen, still not convinced. I think they might slump to fifth. Dare I say, maybe even Hearts will catch them in the split. I just don't think they're carrying much steam at the moment under Jimmy Tillin at all. And yeah, a bit of a nothing game. Yeah.
I think that's that one, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, Hearts with the 2-0 win over Ross County, a really good win for them, keeping them in the sixth spot. They're another team that made a comeback this season, Laurie. Obviously they had to change their manager. They pulled the trigger on their manager, and they brought in Neil Critchley, and it's kind of been up and down, but they seem to have finally found a little bit of consistency. Yeah,
definitely up and down, but I think Neil Critchley is starting to find a bit of a winning formula, and of course, one of the kind of main factors behind that was the scorer of Hearts' first goal on Saturday. Elton Kabangu, there was a bit of loan recruitment there. Hearts are really starting to now find their groove under Critchley. And to be fair, maybe I'm being a bit premature here, but I probably have to apologise to Critchley because I was quite quick for dismissing him when he came in, and I'm sure I've flagged him off on this very podcast.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Me and my dad as well didn't think he was very good, but he certainly has turned it around. And the Hearts have kind of showed that they've got the players. They've the manager's good. You know, I did a little thing looking into it because weirdly enough, Sunderland and Ipswich were interested in Lawrence Shankland, it looked like. And I did a thing looking into how they would do life after Shankland, and I think they're set with James Wilson, and if they can keep a hold of Elton Kabangu as well, you know, they've got a good squad there, and they've got Kenneth Vargas as well, but he's not very good, and nobody likes him. Bad mouthing his
sure
team on Costa Rican radio.
I'm sure some Hearts
I didn't know he
fans
did
still
that.
like him.
Oh yeah, I had to do an apology. So he was on a Costa Rican radio station. This is all word of mouth, allegedly. You know, bad mouth and saying, "Oh, how bad the Scottish Premiership was, and he's a better quality player."
It's always it always seems to be the players that have done, or the managers, should we say, that have done poor here that always are the first to bring the league down, isn't it?
Yeah, the managers and the players. Yeah.
Because I don't think Vargas.
Let's do our Morecambe check. Come on,
Right. Okay.
bring it up. We need to, now that you've brought it up. We need to see.
Yeah, so Morecambe, of course.
Oh, second ball.
Oh, they're off the ball.
Oh, wow!
Derek Adams, he's right. We take it all back.
Derek to the wheel, we're not talking about Dale McInnes.
Next Raiders manager. But no, but
Imagine if Blake to playing it on the Europa League or something. The qualifying football here's even worse than League Two.
But no, I think Neil Critchley, he's done a good job. He's steadied the ship. He's not pleased all the Hearts fans because he's still, as I mentioned earlier, he's still not got that win in that sort of big fixture. Your sort of Aberdeens, your Hibs, your Celtic, your Rangers, and obviously they had the disappointing end to their European campaign. But I think I seen the other day that Hearts have got the second most points in a certain run of games. It's quite a long run behind Celtic.
I think it might be this calendar year.
Yeah, I think it might be. So that's kind of shows how well they've been doing. Just like Hibs, they obviously started the season terribly, but they're back up in the run for top six. I fancy them to get top six and maybe even make a late push for the European spots.
Yeah. So on to the final game of the Saturday. Motherwell 2, St Mirren 2. Really tight in sort of that 6th to 8th spot. I think, you know, good game in that, but I think we should just skip straight to the main talking point. Olisanya has been booked for getting fouled and then been sent off because it was a second booking. How has he been booked for getting fouled?
He's getting fouled himself.
I don't know.
Flicks it by Dan Casey. Dan Casey clatters in there, and Casey goes down holding his face, whinging like a child, and then he gives Olisanya the second booking.
And I'm just thinking as well, it's not the first time that Dan Casey has gone whinging like a child this season. It's something kind of similar. He did it at Christmas time with Motherwell Kilmarnock. It was him and Armstrong were at it. Yeah, a bit more in that one maybe, but like...
Did Armstrong end up getting sent off for that?
Oh, it was Casey.
It was Casey got sent off.
Oh, right, okay.
But it was a nut. It was a
So
nut
anyway,
event.
it's balanced it up. Now Casey's on the right side there. Terrible decision.
Yeah, but now I can understand why the St Mirren fans think VAR having a vendetta against them. 3 major incidents off the top of my head: Stonewall penalty against St Johnstone, Stonewall penalty against Celtic, and now Olisanya's been sent off for getting fouled. How?
Yeah.
And the Mirren fans will be particularly aggrieved because they won't be able to appeal that because it was second book offence.
Yeah, Ryan and Kyle, we know you're raging, but it's all right, guys. We're here to voice your grievances.
Yes.
And that might have put, if St Mirren had got a win there and held on to the lead, they would be on 37 points, 2 points behind Hearts. Now they're 4 points behind Hearts. There's obviously only 3 games left, so before the split, so their chance at top 6 might have just flashed before their eyes there. But brilliant for Motherwell to get back into the game. Michael Vimmer, he's turned it around at Motherwell. Obviously, it was going pretty poorly under Kettlewell towards the end, and they brought Vimmer in, and they've had some positive results, and they are also in the run for top 6. They're 1 point behind Hearts, so they could easily make a late push. and it was good for Callum Slattery to get the double because he's obviously had a tough season with injuries. Two really good goals, very similar goals as well. Yeah, and Ellery Balcom getting the assist for Motherwell against his own team, which is quite a strange one. But yeah, not an ideal point for both teams, but yeah, as you said, the main talking point, Wallace Samuel's ridiculous second yellow.
Yeah. So on to the final game of the weekend. Dundee United 2, Dundee 4. We thought we had it all with the first derby thriller. This one was even better. What a game it was. Sorry, Laurie, can I just get that a wee second just to remind me?
It was the information device and you using that, making that part of that podcast.
Oh yeah, Jordan McGee getting the brace. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Motherwell bound Jordan McGee?
Yeah, you're right.
You're right.
Brilliant goals he scored as well.
Yeah.
Diving header and the strike from the edge of the box.
Yeah, so Jordan McGee and Tiffany made it 2-0. Middleton grabbed one back, making it 2-1. McGee got his second to make it 3-1. Trapanovsky made it 3-2. Going into the game, it's Simon Murray with a 97th minute penalty. And as you can see from the thumbnail there, he just loves a wee goal against these old
He done it in Emmanuel Adebayor as well, ran away from the Dundee fans to celebrate in front of the United fans.
Did he get booked for it?
I don't think he did. Oh no, he did.
Funnily enough, in the 96th minute, Emmanuel Adebayor got sent off.
Yeah.
And then Simon Murray did the Adebayor. And this is a huge win for Dundee. So I think we've covered it. The within 1 point of Kilmarnock now.
I'm scared.
Yeah, and it looks like those teams will firmly be in that fight towards the end of the season, and they'll come up against each other, and for the 100th time, it just feels like they're always playing each other, Dundee United though,
toiling.
They're struggling. They've fallen away. They're only 2 points behind Hearts, ahead of Hearts. Sorry, now. I could see Hearts going ahead of them.
I can see Hearts going ahead of them and Aberdeen. I think Hearts and Hibs are the two strongest teams out with the top two.
How mad is it Aberdeen finally sounds like this after the start?
I mean, it's totally their own fault. And I remember speaking to an Aberdeen fan about could they potentially, be in a title race? Probably not, but split the old firm. It seemed that was possible at one point. But they've made them absolute pigs a year of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're a bit pressed for times. That kind of Dundee derby analysis was a bit rushed. But yeah, that's us. We're back, hopefully regularly. It was nice to get 3 of us in a different setting. I've enjoyed it. It just flows a little bit better when we're all in the same room.
Definitely.
So yeah, thank you to you guys again. And thank you to everyone for watching and listening. Like and subscribe. Go check out the Twitter at the Dugout 2024. Thank you and goodbye.